A 14-year-old girl is sitting cross-legged on her bed at 2 in the morning. The blue glow of her phone is the only light in the room. She scrolls and scrolls. Her thumb moves on autopilot while her brain plays that loop again. The thing her friend said at lunch. The look on the teacher's face when she got the answer wrong. She thinks, why can't I just be normal? Why does everything feel like this? She is not alone, not even close. Right now, 40% of high school students report feeling persistently sad or hopeless. 1 in 5 teenagers is dealing with anxiety, severe enough to interfere with daily life. And here is the part that should stop you cold. 60% of young people with major depression are not getting any treatment at all. Something is breaking. And the cracks are showing up everywhere. In classrooms, in emergency rooms, in the quiet spaces between a kid's smile and what they actually feel inside. But there is a movement growing. It is called social emotional learning, or SEL. And whether you have heard of it or not, it is quietly reshaping how we think about raising the next generation, not just to pass tests, but to survive their own minds. Picture a high school hallway at 7:45 in the morning, lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking on tile. A boy walks in with his hoodie pulled up, earbuds in, shoulders hunched forward, like he is trying to make himself smaller. His chest feels tight. It has felt tight for 3 weeks. He thinks, if I can just get through today. Just today. He is one of the nearly 1 in 3 high school students who stopped doing things they used to enjoy because the sadness got too heavy. For girls, it is even worse. 43% report persistent hopelessness. And here is the thing people miss. This is not just teenagers being dramatic. Serious mental illness in young adults has quadrupled in a decade, from 3% to 12%. That is not a mood. That is a seismic shift. The triggers are everywhere. Social media is a big one. The Surgeon General warns that teens who scroll more than 3 hours a day double their risk of depression and anxiety. 83% of teenagers say school pressure is a top source of stress. And then there is the loneliness. The strange, suffocating loneliness of being surrounded by people online, but feeling utterly disconnected in person. A school counselor in Ohio puts it simply. She leans back in her chair, rubs her temples, and says, "These kids are drowning." And most of them have never been taught how to swim. That is the core of the problem. We teach algebra. We teach essay structure. We teach the periodic table. But we never taught them how to handle the feeling of the floor dropping out from under them. So what exactly is social emotional learning? Walk into a classroom in Austin, Texas, where a 5th grade teachers every morning with something called a mood check-in. Each kid places a colored card on their desk. Blue means calm. Yellow means anxious. Red means upset. No judgment. No follow-up questions unless the kid wants to talk. A boy in the back row puts down a red card. He stares at it for a second, then looks up. The teacher gives him a small nod. That is it. But something shifts. He takes a breath. His shoulders drop half an inch. That tiny moment is SEL in action. At its core, SEL teaches 5 skills. The SEL framework breaks it down. Self-awareness, which means recognizing your own emotions and how they drive your behavior. Self-management, the ability to regulate those emotions instead of being hijacked by them. Social awareness, understanding what other people are feeling. Relationship skills, communicating and connecting without burning bridges. And responsible decision, making, thinking through consequences before you act. Think of it like this. Traditional school teaches you what to think. SEL teaches you how to handle what you feel while you think. It is not therapy. It is not a replacement for professional mental health care. It is more like emotional literacy. The same way you learn to read words on a page. SEL teaches you to read the signals your own body and brain are sending you. Numbers people, this part is for you. A conference room in Washington, D.C. Researcher stands in front of a screen filled with data points. She clicks to the next slide and pauses. The room goes quiet. Over 1 million students. Hundreds of studies. The results are consistent. Students in SEL programs see an 11 percentile point gain in academic achievement compared to control groups. A 2025 meta-analysis found that programs lasting a full academic year produce an 8 percentile point increase. Math scores go up by nearly 4 points. Literacy scores jump by over 6. But here is what hits different. It is not just grades. Students in SEL programs report less anxiety, less depression, and fewer suicidal thoughts. They feel safer at school. They get into fewer fights. They are more likely to help a classmate who is struggling. And the effects do not vanish when the program ends. Researchers tracked students up to 18 years later and still found measurable benefits. These are not temporary feel-good moments. These are durable changes in how people navigate the world. The cost angle is worth mentioning too. For every dollar invested in SEL, the estimated return is $11. That is not a charity case. That is one of the best investments in education that exists. One principal in Chicago puts it bluntly. He is standing in the hallway between classes, watching kids stream past. He says, "We used to spend all our time on discipline. Now we spend it on prevention. And the discipline problems are disappearing." Now, here is where it gets messy. A school board meeting in a suburb outside Atlanta. The room is packed. A parent stands up at the microphone, jaw clenched, voice shaking. "You are teaching my child what to feel. That is my job. That is our family's job. Not the government's." SEL has become a political lightning rod. Some critics argue it pushes values that belong in the home, not the classroom. Others say it is a Trojan horse for ideology. The previous administration's Department of Education went so far as to say some schools used SEL terminology to veil discriminatory policies. Some districts responded by dropping the SEL label entirely. They rebranded it Character Education, Life Skills, Well-Being Instruction. The content stayed the same. Only the name changed. And there are legitimate questions buried under the politics. Implementation matters enormously. A poorly run SEL program can feel forced and performative. Students with learning differences are not always included in program design. Some teachers get 15 minutes of training and are told to go transform young lives. That is not fair to anyone. 83% of principals say their schools now use some form of SEL. But the quality varies wildly. The difference between a school that integrates SEL into its culture and one that bolts on a 30-minute weekly lesson is like the difference between learning a language by living in the country versus memorizing flashcards. The researchers are clear on this. SEL works when it is sequenced, active, focused, and explicit. It works when teachers are supported. It fails when it is treated as a checkbox. A 20-something software developer sits at her desk in a glass-walled office in San Francisco. Her manager just gave her feedback that stung. Her first instinct is to fire back a defensive email, but she pauses. She notices her jaw is tight. She notices the heat rising in her chest. She takes a breath and thinks, okay. What is actually true in what he said? Does she learn that skill in 4th grade? A mood check in card? A breathing exercise? A teacher who showed her that feelings are information, not commands. This is where SEL is heading. Beyond the classroom and into the rest of life. Google, Deloitte, and the World Economic Forum all rank social-emotional skills among the most critical for the future workforce. Deloitte predicts that by 2030, 2/3 of all jobs will be in roles that demand these exact abilities: resilience, adaptability, emotional intelligence. The market reflects this. The SEL industry is projected to hit $10 billion by 2028. Digital tools are part of the expansion. Apps that teach mindfulness, AI-powered mood tracking, virtual therapy platforms. But the researchers offer a warning. Tools with human support work. Pure self-help apps show much weaker results. Technology is an amplifier, not a replacement. And here is the frontier that excites people most. Because the truth is, most of us never learned these skills either. Workplace mental health programs are borrowing directly from the SEL playbook, teaching managers to recognize burnout, teaching teams to communicate through conflict, teaching individuals that their nervous system is not their enemy. Back to that girl on her bed at 2 a.m. Imagine a different version of her story. One where she learned, years ago, that the tight feeling in her chest has a name. That the spiraling thoughts are a pattern, not a prophecy. That she has tools. A breathing technique. A way to challenge the voice that says she is not enough. She puts the phone down. She closes her eyes. She does the 4-7-8 breath her teacher taught her. 4 seconds in. Hold for 7. Out for 8. The loop quiets. Not completely, but enough. Social-emotional learning is not a magic fix. It will not end the youth mental health crisis on its own. But it is the closest thing we have to teaching an entire generation how to swim before the water rises. And the water is rising. The question is not whether we can afford to teach kids how to understand themselves. The question is whether we can afford not to.